The girl was riding the Ferris wheel, but got stuck up in the air and couldn't come down. Even more unexpectedly, she tried to open the cabin. Then, just a moment ago, the firefighters arrived at the scene. The Ferris wheel had just lost a car, and it fell right onto a Carnival worker. However, that wasn't the most challenging part. Looking in the direction pointed by security, there was still a girl inside another cabin struggling frantically, causing the cabin to rock back and forth. Rescue action could not be delayed. The squad team worked on rescuing the worker, while the ladder team operated the ladder truck, trying to reach the girl, but the ladder was clearly too short. The girl began to shake the cabin even more wildly. Seeing the situation becoming critical, Lieutenant Casey quickly ordered the ladder truck to move. At that moment, Gallo had a bold idea.
Not jumping off that aerial. We can bridge the gap with the roof ladder. It's the fastest way.
Casey looked up at the girl hanging by a thread and decided to go for it. The two carried a ladder straight to the top. The girl tried to stand up to cooperate, but Gallo told her to hold on and assured her they would get her down. He then extended the ladder toward the cabin. The onlookers watched anxiously as Gallo reassured the girl. He began his move.
Everything's gonna be okay. Do you want to try to come out on the ladder?
After counting 3, 2, 1, the girl bravely took her first step. The ladder creaked under the weight, and the chief watched nervously. Suddenly, the girl slipped. But Gallo grabbed her just in time. Everyone watched with bated breath. Finally, under Gallo's guidance, the girl safely reached the aerial ladder. The crowd burst into applause, seeing the girl reunited with her family. The firefighters knew their daring mission had meaning once again today. The man shouted for help, saying his girlfriend was hanging on the wall. The young couple originally wanted to try something thrilling, but an accident happened by mistake. The paramedics arrived at the bathroom. The woman was leaning against the wall motionless, a pool of blood on the floor. Mikami looked closely and found that a bracket on the wall had pierced the woman's back. Lieutenant Kidd instructed to prepare a saw. The woman asked why they couldn't just pull it out. Kidd told her that the bracket is fixed to the wall and it's shaped like a hook. Carver brought an electric saw. Kidd instructed him to cut as close to the wall as possible. The woman looked a bit panicked. Carver quickly explained that he was going to cut the bracket. As long as she didn't move, she wouldn't get hurt. Mikami also held the woman, letting her lean on her, giving the saw more space. The two exchanged a glance. Carver was fully focused, afraid of making a wrong move and cutting Mikami's fingers. Fortunately, the bracket was successfully cut off in the end. The paramedics bandaged the woman briefly and then helped her onto a gurney. They needed to go to the hospital to remove the remaining part of the bracket from her body. It's likely that after this incident, the young couple won't be having fun in the bathroom again. The waitress shouted for help, saying a boat had flown ashore. A woman was trapped underneath it. When the firefighters arrived at the scene, found the woman pinned under the boat. The propeller was spinning just above her forehead, threatening to slice her head in half at any moment. The firefighters quickly brought struts to stabilize the boat. Others held the boat with all their strength, trying to keep it steady to prevent further harm to the woman. Everything was going smoothly at first, but then the boat suddenly started to wobble. It turned out the boat driver had woken up. He was staggering around drunkenly on the boat, walking back and forth. Luckily, the boat tilted to one side, avoiding the woman's head. However, the situation became extremely unstable. The firefighters didn't dare to delay any longer and decided to pull the woman out immediately. As they counted down 3 to 1, the woman was pulled out. She suffered a cut on her leg. At the same time, the firefighters all retreated. It was terrifying to imagine what would have happened if it had hit her head. The drunken driver finally sobered up. Realizing the trouble he had caused, he tried to leave the scene in a hurry, but the paramedics stopped him, leading to a scuffle between the two. Other firefighters and police officers arrived at this moment to help restrain him. Devin was hanging upside down on a roller coaster. He had been in that position for 30 minutes, just moments before. Devin and his good friend Chad had ridden the coaster, but due to a staff error, the metal restraint wasn't secured properly. Before Devin could react, the roller coaster started. It had barely crossed one peak when, under the immense force of inertia, the restraint snapped up. In an instant, Chad was thrown out. Firefighters arrived swiftly, but the environment was too complex, making it impossible to set up a safety cushion. Buck, a firefighter, climbed up the ladder truck to reach Devin, but the coaster's height was too much, so he had to climb up by hand to rescue him. By now, Devin had been suspended for 20 minutes. Despite his distress, he anxiously asked about Chad's condition. However, Chad was already gone. To prevent Devin from panicking, the captain instructed his team to place Chad on a stretcher, pretending everything was all right. Hearing this, Devin calmed down slightly. Meanwhile, a crowd gathered below, taking pictures and some even live streaming. Devin's panic surged again. Embarrassed and terrified in front of so many strangers, Buck advised him to ignore the crowd, lowering a strap, trying to hook it onto Devin. But Devin couldn't manage it. Desperate, Buck reached out to grab him.
Reach up your hand. You can do this. I got you. Devin, I need you to trust me. I will not let you go.
But in the next second, he lost his grip. and Devin fell to his death. At the luxurious birthday party, the birthday boy was feeling down. His stepmother, whom he didn't seem to like, had just given birth to a baby boy. The attentive father Dan noticed his son's mood, so he decided to spend quality time with him. Leaving his unpleasant wife aside, he dove into the bouncy house.
You're too big.
But it didn't affect their fun at all. No one noticed that the anchor of the bouncy house had come loose. Just then, a sudden gust of wind swept through. With the man's next jump, the anchor finally broke free. The castle started wobbling, moving closer to the edge of the cliff, in front of everyone's eyes. The castle took flight into the sky. Amidst the wild shaking, Dan accidentally fell from it, his fate uncertain. Firefighters quickly arrived at the scene. They split into two teams. One team led by Buck went to save the children, while Captain Bobby went to check on Dan and Chimney stayed behind to control their hoists. Fortunately, the two kids inside the castle were only lightly injured, while another child remained unconscious. Hen brought the basket and lifted the three kids up to safety. However, Dan wasn't as fortunate. He landed headfirst. Bobby was careful not to move his neck, repeatedly reminding Dan to keep his head still. He cautiously lifted him up. At this moment, his son also rushed over.
I thought you were dead.
Okay, Cam. We're both okay. Love you so much.
I love you so much too.
Sergeant Grand returned home and found her daughter unconscious. She immediately called 911. The ambulance quickly took the girl away. She had fallen into a deep coma. The paramedics could only maintain her vital signs. The always strong Sergeant Grand could only pray over and over for her daughter to hold on. After 3 hours of rescue, her daughter was temporarily out of danger. The truth then surfaced.
Stupid. No, you're not stupid, honey. You're a young girl.
Her daughter had unintentionally offended a girl at school. She was talking to a boy Layla likes, which made Layla hold a grudge against her. Layla attacked her daily with vicious words.
And they kept saying, you're nothing and you're the worst and no one would care if you did and you should die.
Every word felt like a sharp sword piercing Grand's heart. She protected the city with all her might every day, but she couldn't protect her own daughter, so she decided to take revenge. She waited at the school gate and saw Layla laughing and chatting. Thinking of her daughter lying in the hospital bed, rage filled her heart. She followed Layla all the way to her doorstep, looking at the luxurious mansion in front of her. She knew this family was not easy to mess with, but the anger had already filled her chest. She barged straight in.
Your neighbors called to complain. No, see, they called to say some skanky teenage hoe living up in here bringing a real stank to the neighborhood.
Knowing that this cop was here for revenge, Layla was not afraid. Instead, she escalated her insults towards Grand's daughter. Sergeant Grand immediately took her down and found a packet of illegal substances in her bag. Layla remained
You are in
defiant.
such trouble. My father's an attorney.
Tax attorney.
Layla was taken back to the police station. Later, her parents came to the station in a fury, accusing Sergeant Grand of abusing her power and demanding the release of their daughter. Sergeant Grand firmly refused. She wanted Layla to receive the punishment she deserved. An elderly woman living alone reported a break-in.
Oh God, he's coming in.
The cop rushed to the scene, only to discover the woman had shot the intruder in self-defense, but she was barely harmed. However, the cop couldn't shake off a sense of unease, especially when seeing the photo on the mantelpiece. The cop was suddenly taken aback.
Look at this, and then look at him.
Wait, that looks like the same guy.
Thought she told her he was a stranger.
And she did.
Face blindness?
Is that a real thing?
It can be. They can't recognize the face of the people they know.
Yeah, it can be caused by a stroke or some kind of traumatic brain injury.
To validate their suspicions, the cop asked the woman once more. Yet when she saw the photo, she immediately recognized the man in the picture as her own son.
Jeremy, it's my son. He's a doctor. We're very proud.
A mother shooting her own son, whether unknowingly or not. It's a huge tragedy for this family. Now they had to send the woman for medical examination, but the paramedic was in a dilemma, uncertain when to tell her about her son.
Not yet. Tell her the truth, you ruin it.